Welcome to the Sports Trigger. I'm Jared with my co-host Travis.
Here to ignite your day.
And we're back at the Sports Trigger, where today, Travis, we're going to be talking about some movies. And not just any movies, some sports movies. So, just jumping right into it, let's list off your 3 favorite sports movies that make you shed a tear every single time you watch it. It just burns that emotion into you.
Yeah, I'm trying not to cry when I think about all 3 of these, but the first one is The Miracle. Okay. Then my second is Invictus, and my third is Rudy.
Oh, Rudy. I think I know why you added that in there. So, before we dive into yours, I'm going to give mine 3. First, Hoosiers. I mean, you got to go with the Homer Hoosiers movie, being from Indiana, playing basketball, loving basketball. Number 2 was actually Invictus. I'm surprised that you, you picked the same one there. I was thinking Hoosiers would be the one that you would pick the same as me. And third there is Any Given Sunday with Al Pacino. One of my favorites. And there's a certain reason, there's a specific part in that movie that absolutely just gets the chills flowing in all the feels. So let's jump into yours here really quick. Rudy, just explain why you added that in there first. I have a feeling it has to do with your love for Notre Dame.
Yeah, that may have a little part to do with it, if not a major part. But, Rudy, growing up, Notre Dame fan, I've seen it countless times. I own the DVD. Yeah, I just, the whole story, and to be honest, I was a Notre Dame fan, and, you hear about the story before I even saw the movie, and then when you see the movie, you just totally get it. You understand. And I know not just Notre Dame fans can see this, and they get the story, and it'll touch them as well. And, someone that had dyslexia, he was always doubted. He was only 5'6", right? And he always loved Notre Dame. He was a huge Notre Dame football fan.
Yeah.
Always wanted to go to Notre Dame football games. Always watched them. And he eventually got his shot. He was on the scout team when he was finally able to join Notre Dame University. And he got to play his very last game as a senior. He got to go in there just for 2 plays, the kickoff, and then he got a defense play. But it's just the culmination of everything he worked for, and then he sacked the quarterback. Granted, they were ahead anyways, but just the culmination of everything he worked for, it makes you link with yourself and maybe a situation where you work for something your whole life, you finally get a shot, and it pays off. It gets me every time, and I could never get tired of watching that movie.
Yeah, you got the Rudy chants with like Rudy. You got the whole crowd. His family actually came to the game. I mean, what better story outside of that it include Notre Dame? I mean, they could have picked so many other universities that would have been better, but the Notre Dame, I'll get over that. So
You'll get over it.
Before we jump into Invictus here, what about your other selection there? That's not the same as mine. Let's go into that one. I was a little surprised by that, I guess.
Yes. So The Miracle. The Miracle was my other selection, and I mean that kind of speaks for itself. That's kind of like if you're a citizen of the United States, or just if you see it in general. It's just something that gives you chills each time. It's another instance of a culmination of something that's been worked for a long period of time. You've seen the struggle that all the people involved have gone through, and then just to see that culmination where they finally get past the Russians. And it wasn't even for the gold medal, but it seemed like it was for the gold medal with how often the Russians had won previously. They had won the last 4 gold medals. So, they were the giants, if you will, of the hockey organization. And just to see them get past them, win the gold medal, it's something that always gives you chills. You see Herb Brooks pump his fist in the movie. He walks out because you know how much emotion he had.
Oh, I'm sure.
Just all the struggles. Oh, it's fantastic.
Yeah, and that's kind of the reason why I went with Any Given Sunday. You know, anytime I'm just wanting that pump up that I'm going to fight for every ant today, the Al Pacino speech in Any Given Sunday. Absolutely. It might be one of the best speeches in a movie.
It's a great speech.
Outside of, though, Hoosiers. That speech with Gene Hackman in there, just rallying up his kids before actually play the game even. It's just right before the state championship, saying that, you know, this court's the same length as any other one that we've played in, and you know, the basket, just going over the dimensions. That's just awesome. That gives you the chills before they actually dive into the game and everything. And just overall a great basketball story. Actually, I was fortunate enough while in Indiana when I was younger to have one of the actual individuals from that team come and give a speech a while ago. So it was pretty cool in that regards. And now let's just tackle Invictus here. I feel like Invictus, it might be not only just because of the sport and the story, but because of the actors involved, which made it awesome. I mean, you had Matt Damon.
Right.
And you have the voice of Morgan Freeman, a.k.a. plays God every once in a while. Should narrate everybody's life, probably, right? I mean, if anybody could have Morgan Freeman's voice added in their life, they would. So what really brought
He's top
this
of my
movie?
list. I know that.
Yeah, what brought this movie to the top of your list?
Yeah, it's definitely something that most people may not jump on board with or initially, but it's just, like I said, the culmination. That's going to be a repetitive word I've used this whole time, but the struggles that they went through, you know, it's all of South Africa, you know, apartheid especially. So this is a whole country that was going through so much. Then Nelson Mandela eventually becomes president the year before the World Cup, and all the politics behind it and how bad the South African team was previously. It's a true underdog story, and I know everyone loves underdog stories. You typically hear them more so United States, obviously, but it just the build up to it, what they went through, and it wasn't just, you know, within the field lines. They dealt with so much doubt, and they had to gain trust of a whole country. And when they eventually got to the World Cup gold game, they won, and they had the entire nation behind them. Whereas when they first started out, everyone was doubting them, making fun of them. There was even a scene I remember where they originally started out and they were playing the England squad, and their own fans were rooting for the England squad versus them. And then to see them at the very end where their whole country's behind them, nobody's rooting for the other team except for obviously that country's own fans and citizens. It's just amazing. That's what really got me.
The thing that took it over the edge for me is it was a story that I wouldn't have known about unless that movie was made, probably. So as a sports fan, it made it that much better. It's like, wow, that happened. That's awesome. So definitely added an element to it. Well, guys, those are our three movies that we really love watching, and, you know, brings us down the emotional chill. And so if you wouldn't mind leaving in a comment, letting us know what your three movies are, we'd really appreciate it. And until next time, signing out.